Ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege it is for me to introduce our keynote speaker for this great event, the Honorable Pat McCrory. The people of North Carolina cry out for new leadership. They are sick and tired of the corruption of recent Democrat administrations. They are sick and tired of the waste and uncontrolled spending and the ever-increasing tax burden that impoverishes families and ruins small businesses and puts people out of work. They remember when North Carolina was a leader among all the states in economic growth and prosperity. And they shudder at the news that we now have worse unemployment than the nation as a whole. They demand new leadership. The 2010 election showed it. Every poll shows it. The spirit in the streets show it. You and I know it because we are the people. And we will not rest until we have replaced the failed Democratic leadership of recent years with new leadership that is strong and honest and capable and Republican. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the strongest, most honest, and capable Republicans I have ever known, our keynote speaker, Pat McCrory.
The greatest sheriff in North Carolina right there, Donnie Harrison. And what about your chairman, Susan Bryant? Y'all give Susan a round of applause. Fantastic leadership that you have. What a turnout. I thought I was at an NC State basketball game tonight. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Hey, guess what? We've accomplished half of our goal already before the campaign even starts. Beverly Perdue will not be the next governor of North Carolina. Let's stand up. But I'm telling you right now, that's just half the battle. In fact, that's only 49% of what we wanted. We still have 51% to go. And I'm telling you right now, the Democrats are lining up with a whole list of names of people to run against us in the general election. The only thing we're learning is about the list of names that are considering running for governor in the Democratic Party is every person on that list are the same people that have supported the easily produced policies and the easily produced culture that is unacceptable for North Carolina's future. We won't get fooled again. Let me hear you. We won't get fooled again. Ladies and gentlemen, there are people hurting right now throughout this state. There are friends of ours that are barely hanging on to their jobs. There are neighbors of ours that are barely hanging onto their houses. There are small businesses across the state right now who are getting their loans called. And all of a sudden, to have to figure out how do I pay off a loan and keep my employees employed at this point in time. There are graduates of NC State and Carolina and East Carolina and UNCW throughout the state who are graduating and they can't find jobs. And their resumes are being sent through the internet with absolutely no response. And therefore, many of our graduates right now are moving back in with you. That's not our goal. Our goal is to get our graduates jobs and to get them to build their own home and raise a great family for future generations to come. Now, as we see this tough economy right now, as we see this incredibly tough economy right now, we see what the good old boy and, yes, good old girl network that has controlled this state for far too long wants to do. Two things they've already recommended. The first thing is, what do you think they recommend? They want to raise the taxes on the people right now who are having a tough time even finding the money to buy the groceries every week, or finding the money to pay their mortgage, or finding the money to keep their business stores open. They're wanting to raise your corporate tax, your income tax, your sales tax at the worst time. Even Governor Perdue, when she was running in 2008, said during a recession, which we're in, would be the worst time to raise taxes. It's the one time I agreed with her. But guess what they're recommending? They want to raise your taxes right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't need to raise taxes. We need to build the economy and grow the economy right here in North Carolina. What's the second thing they're recommending? It's amazing. 1 minute they say out of the executive branch, well, North Carolina is the most business-friendly state in the nation. And the very next second, they're offering upfront cash to new companies that are considering to come to North Carolina while taxing the existing companies that are barely surviving. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not an economic policy for good, sustainable growth. That's an economy for disaster, and North Carolina is better than that. We need a policy for all businesses in North Carolina, both small and large. Now, I'll tell you right now, what I'd like to do as your next governor is several things, and let me mention several things we have to do. The reason I'm running for governor is I want to fix this broken government, and I want to fix this broken economy. And one thing I'm going to do as governor, two immediate things we're going to do as your next governor. First of all, we're going to ensure that every bill that Beverly Perdue vetoed will be passed and signed in 2013. Every single one of them that she vetoed, including voter ID. Yeah, they're going to tell us we're disenfranchising voters. That's just the opposite. We have to have a voter ID to get into the governor's mansion right now. We have to have an ID to buy Sudafed. Ladies and gentlemen, more than anything, we have to protect the integrity of the voting system, and we're going to do it right now. But there are several other things which we must enact immediately, and where the governor of North Carolina needs to step up to the plate, like Tom Tillis and Phil Berger has. And that's one thing that the governor vetoed, which we will start immediately, and that was we will challenge Obama health care. North Carolina will be at the plate to challenge the federal takeover of our health care system. We won't get fooled again. Let me tell you something else we're planning to do. And I said this back in 2008, and Governor Perdue gave several answers, and we still aren't hearing the answer. Governor Perdue, when she was elected in 2008 or ran, she said, offshore drilling will not occur on her watch. Well, it's one promise that she did keep. I'm telling you right now, when I become governor, we're going to start the process for exploring for both natural gas inland and offshore here in North Carolina. This country is being held hostage for far too long by Nigeria and by Russia, by Saudi Arabia, Venezuela. All of our great friends are holding our economy hostage. And as long as our country is dependent upon these other countries, our economy is at risk. And right now, we're all about to pay $4 a gallon for gas, and yet we have leadership in this state, and we have leadership in Washington, D.C., which refuse to take advantage of the natural resources that we have in North Carolina. As your next governor, I'm going to work together with Governor McDonald in Virginia and the great governor of South Carolina, and we're going to form a coalition and go to Washington and say we want to start taking advantage of our natural resources. We will create jobs and we'll use the income to help build our infrastructure and our education system right here in North Carolina. Let's do it now. Let me talk about another subject that is very dear to my heart, and that is education. I'm not going to give education to a party which has supported a failed system for the past decade. A failed education system which is kids are dropping out. Kids are having to take remedial reading after they graduate. Kids are having to take remedial reading in two-year institutions. They have to take remedial math in our four-year colleges. That means we aren't supporting our children in K through 12 schools. We've got to change the way we teach our kids. And it's not by pouring more money into a failed system, it's by changing the way we help our children in this state. My goal is to always be a teacher. I got my teaching degree at Catawba College back in 1978. My goal was to always be a teacher. And after I serve 2 terms as your next governor, I'm going to get a promotion and become a teacher right here in North Carolina. I admire and respect teachers. And one thing we have to do is we have to reward the best performing teachers in North Carolina. We all know who the good teachers are. When we were in high school, the students knew who the good teachers were. The principal knew who the good teachers were. The parents knew who the good teachers were. Everyone knows who the good teachers are. Why don't we reward the good teachers? Because they're the ones that are so crucial to our future and to our children's future. We ought to have a system which says not only do we reward them, but I want to share teachers that are the best in the state, and I want to share them with the rest of the state using the incredible technology that's available today. Long-distance learning. We got to think out of the box. Education is not just about bricks and mortar. It's about teaching. It's about educating. Education is about one primary goal in addition to exercising our kids' brains. My goal of education, K through 12, 2-year tech, and 4-year colleges is this. I want them to have a skill to get a job. I want them to be employable in North Carolina. And one part of the plan that I am passionate about in education is this. I think there are 2 paths to success for our kids in North Carolina. For the talent that we have in North Carolina, 2 equal paths of success. One path is to take a 4-year college curriculum in high school and hopefully get accepted to one of our great universities. That's one path of success. But I also think there's another equally good and needed path of success, and that is a vocational training path of success in our high schools. Every high school in North Carolina should have vocational training and use the skills in the hands to build, to repair, to fix, to innovate, because they deserve it and our economy needs those skills. My wife often tells me when something breaks down in her house, she goes, "Why can't you fix this stuff?" And we have to call up the plumber or something else, and the plumber comes and shows incredible skills. I'm looking at that person with the mechanical skills, fix it. And I'm going, how do they do that? Because I can't do it. My dad was a mechanical engineer. He could do it. I can't do it. I just do not have that talent. So this engineer comes into our house and fixes the plumbing. And then they give me the bill, and it's higher than a legal bill. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that because they have the skill that deserves to be paid in this state. I'm convinced if we have 2 tracks of education for our students, for our future, 2 tracks, that our dropout rate will decrease, because I think sometime the liberal elite tries to force us into one track, whether or not that student wants to go in that track, and they might have skills in different areas, but they give up. And then when they give up, they quit. And when they quit, they're in two systems, one of two systems or both. They're either in the welfare system or they're in the criminal justice system. And neither one is good for our country or for that individual. My goal is to get them into a system of productivity so they can raise the next future generation with good values of work ethics. And we have to think out of the box in education. Notice I'm talking about education because Republicans are for education. We're just not for the status quo of education. We should be using technology. If you talk to kids right now, they learn from computers like many of us in this room did not. They're comfortable with the computers. They look at the iPad and they can do it in their sleep. They look at their Apple computer, they do it in their sleep. And there are so many learning tools that we need to use technology to engage these children and to teach these children in. And then we can use our great teachers to supplement the technology and to add to that technology and help with critical thinking, help with technical skills, help with basic math, and help with basic reading. If we do not graduate kids with these basic skills, even if we bring new employers to the state, we won't be able to find the qualified talent to fill the employer's needs. Our academic institutions must start thinking of the market, and our curriculum should be based upon the market needs of the employers. And every year, our curriculum needs to change based upon the market needs, just like business has to change every year, every month, to meet the market needs of their customers. This is the type of thinking that we must change the culture of government. Let me tell you one other thing about the culture of government in North Carolina. And it's a story that I learned firsthand, which many of you have learned firsthand too. I turned 55 in October of last year and had to go get my driver's license renewed. Go to the DMV. And I drove up to the DMV one afternoon and I saw a line all the way out the door, out around the corner of the building. Thank God it was good weather. I said, thank you very much, no rain, because I had to stand outside for 35 minutes. Then when I got inside, I sat in the little chairs just like you're sitting in today. And the minute I sat there, I went, my gosh, nothing has changed since I got my first driver's license in Jamestown, North Carolina in 1973. Nothing has changed, except for one thing now, that instead of making you go from chair to chair to chair, they give you a number. That's it. And it was at that moment where I went, I've got to run for governor of North Carolina. Can you imagine the private sector not having having remained the same since in 40 years? In 40 years, nothing had changed. We need to change the culture. We've got some great employees in state government. I'm proud of the employees that I worked with as a mayor. I'm proud of many of the state employees that live here in Wake County. But I want to introduce a culture where we reward innovation, a culture which we reward productivity, a culture where we reward customer service, just like we demand in the private sector. Because we can't afford to add any more money to this culture. We have to learn in government to do more with less, just like the private sector and families have had to do across North Carolina for the last 4 years. And we can do it. We've got the talent to do it. This state, there's no state like North Carolina in the United States of America. We have unlimited resources. We have gas under the ground. We have fertile soil and an agricultural community that's second to none. Look at the great campus that we're on right now that thrives on agriculture. And I firmly believe the agricultural community is one of the communities that's going to get us out of this recession. It's very, very important in North Carolina. In fact, I believe not only the agricultural community is important, but those industries that grow things, those industries that produce things, those industries that build things, and those industries that innovate things are the industries that we in government need to get away from and let them expand and grow. We cannot live off the service industry alone. We have to be a state in which we make things instead of just buy things. We have to be a country in which we make things instead of just buy things. If we quit making things, if we quit growing things, if we quit innovating things, we do not have a sustainable economy for our future kids, our future generations. It's a fact of life. And every policy we enact in government, our transportation policy, our infrastructure policy, our education policy, our tax policy, should be centered around how do we help those people who are innovating things, growing things, producing things, and building things. Because if those industries grow and survive, then our kids are going to get jobs, the service industry survives, then government has revenue to build the roads and provide police and fire. That's the strength of our nation. And North Carolina has unlimited talent in our schools, in our universities, in our land, in its soil, in its values. And the values, the work ethic of North Carolina is second to none. I laid down pavement in Greenville, North Carolina in 1975 for $2.75 an hour. And I saw guys right next to me with their shirts off from 5:30 to 8 o'clock at night until the sun went down, working harder than anyone you can imagine. I see kids right now that are graduating from university, some of the top, the brightest, just brilliant scientists, brilliant engineers, brilliant writers who have so much talent that they can help hire the rest of us as they start new companies and invent new things because of the work ethic and the talent. We have the mountains, we have the Piedmont, we have the beaches. This state is incredible. And there's no reason our state should not be the first state to get out of this recession with these resources. We need to unleash these resources here in North Carolina. We need to put these resources back to work. And we need to fix this broken government. We need to fix this broken economy. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to be due to your hard work. And we can't just stand here and meet together. We've got to reach out to Republicans. We've got to reach out to independents. We've got to reach out to Democrats, because I think all three of those groups agree with this message which is going to bring prosperity to the state of North Carolina, this message that's going to get North Carolina jobs, so when kids graduate from two-year tech schools, I love to call them two-year tech schools. I like the word tech. So they'll get jobs, and they'll build new houses and create other jobs. That's my vision for North Carolina. That's our strategy for North Carolina. But we've got to get out and preach this message to the rest of the state. If we just sit in this room and talk to each other while the other side's knocking on doors and taking people to the polls, we will not win this election. We have got to go out and outwork the other side, not only with the message, but the work ethic of North Carolina. And my message to your great chairman is this: 100% of your energy between now and November should be directed toward two areas. The first area is registering people to vote who aren't registered right now, legally. We do it the right way. And the second message, and the second thing you have to do, is you have to take the people to the polls. Not just yourself, but your friends, your colleagues, your fellow church members, your neighbors, your relatives, your extended family. We have to take people to the polls. There's no excuse. If we didn't learn our lesson in 2008, then shame on us. We won't get fooled again. We will win this election because we have the right message. We will win this election because we've got some great candidates. We'll win this election because we have you, and you're number one. Thank you, and God bless each one of you. God bless each one of you. Thank you very much. We won't get fooled again.